Hi, I'm Tim. I just wanted to give you an update from our elder board. Every month in the last few months since we've been in the COVID crisis, we've talked every month about how we're doing at reopening. And the last meeting last week was the first meeting since we had the mandate from the governor about face masks. So we thought we should just kind of update you in terms of what our expectations are, and wanted to talk through this. The elders have really, we talked about quite a long time the other night and have looked through these comments that I'm sharing. Just wanted to, just to clarify our standards on this. Here we are at 6 months into it, and we haven't really gotten anywhere in terms of the virus. So when we talked about reopening back in May, you may recall there were a couple of principles that just were guiding principles. One of them was what's best for our mission. And so keep that in mind as we think about going forward in this ongoing health pandemic. The second guideline was what best shows love to each other and to our neighbors. And the last one was just really quite pragmatic, what's safe. So we've gradually, as you know, we've gradually opened to more and more face-to-face opportunities, including small groups, including limited worship service indoors. Awana and youth are launching with some new protocols in place in a couple of weeks. But just as we think about these health and CDC guidelines, again, a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, this is not a biblical issue directly. There's not a biblical passage that directly speaks to the question of whether or not we should follow these guidelines. Maybe indirectly, the Romans 13 passage, which we're all kind of familiar with, is that the authorities that exist have been established by God. So that God allows and providentially sets up people that have authority and expertise in areas that we don't have. Their goal is to help us. But this really isn't a gospel issue. The question of social distancing and face masks is not a gospel issue. And so it's really a non-essential. And like with a lot of biblical issues that are non-essential, or put questions that come up that are non-essential, that means we want to be sure that we stay united and we don't draw lines that divide over what's really not that important and not biblically mandated. So keep that in mind. But in terms of what's safe, nothing really has changed with the governor's mandate. The same core protocols have been in place since April. Hand washing, cleaning, more rigorous cleaning protocols and schedules. If you're having symptoms, don't go out in public. I just went to the doctor's office today. If I had any symptoms, they wouldn't have let me come in. That's been common. Social distancing of 6 feet, and if you're singing, longer, bigger radius, and face masks. These have been, if you can't social distance, face masks have been recommended, whether indoors or outdoors, but especially indoors. So that's really the safe health practice component of this. But the most, probably, if it's not a gospel issue, it's not a biblical issue, it's a non-essential, then the pragmatic issue becomes, we want to stay safe, we want to stay open, and we want to do whatever possible to make sure that we are able to continue to do that. And so we will continue to limit sizes of in-person gatherings. At this point, our worship services inside will still be limited to 50. That's been working out really well. We'll continue to have the outdoor option. Even as children and youth launch in a couple of weeks, they're following some guidelines so they can keep smaller groups of kids together, not large gatherings. And all of that is to say that consistent with all of these other health department protocols, we are requiring face masks indoors. And we recognize that is not convenient. As a person who wears glasses 90% of the time, I hear that, mine fog up too. But if following those guidelines reduces risk, and thus far the experts are saying this could be the single biggest risk reducer of wearing face masks, if that's the case, and it makes it more likely that we can continue meeting, we feel as an elder board, as leaders, staff, it's worth the hassle. So Most fundamentally, we think it's the loving thing to do. Now, these are guidelines that help protect those among us who might be more vulnerable. And if that's the case, we will be willing to give up our convenience, our preferences, even our opinions for the sake of others. As one of the elders said, it's not about me, it's about we. What's the loving thing to do? So as we continue to feel our way through now into the fall, we don't know what's going to happen. I would ask you to continue to pray for unity as a body. Don't let this issue or other issues that are non-essentials, don't let them become divisive wedges. Pray for health. This is still a health risk, and we've had people in our congregation who've had the virus, and it's been tough, and they've come through it, thankfully. But also pray for peace. Not just about us getting along, but just peace in the Lord, because this is an unsettling year that most of us have not experienced something like this in our lifetime. So, and above all, pray that God's work will be obvious through this time. So thank you. If you have questions, email me, text me, give us a call, and we'd be happy to talk further. Thanks.